Good evening, everybody. I'm Taryn, host of Paranormal Brew, and tonight I like to call them my three older brothers. Love them so much. Tim Vickers, Dave Schumacher, and Kenny Biddle. And tonight, three Tortural Soul plus one. I'm four. It has been established by Kenny Biddle himself on a couple of lives. We will find those eventually one day, but it is there. Before I do bring them on, I do want to pay a little tribute to my mother. A year ago, she passed away. So she was with me with the Wednesday show before she passed. So I just want to play something in her memory before we get started, because I know it's going to make me a little sad, but I'm happy that the three guys are here with me, because I know they'll cheer me up right away. So I just want to play something in her memory. So I'll be back in a minute.
What's a soulmate?
It's it's like a best friend, but more. It's the one person in the world who knows you better than anyone else. It's someone who makes you a better person. Actually, they don't make you a better person, you do that yourself. Because they inspire you. A soulmate is someone who you carry with you forever.
Watching you stand alone, all of my doubt suddenly goes away somehow. One step closer.
What's a soulmate?
It's like a best friend, but more. It's the one person in the world who knows you better than anyone else. It's someone who makes you a better person. Actually, they don't make you a better person, you do that yourself. Because they inspire you. A soulmate is someone who you carry with you forever.
Watching you stand alone, all of my doubt suddenly.
Okay, hold on. I don't know how to remove this. Okay, here we go. All right, now let me bring them on. Sorry about that. There we are, my boys.
Gotta push the button.
I don't know how to do
Push
it.
the button.
I really honestly do not know how to do it.
Just keep pushing buttons till something happens.
Hi, Donna. So yeah, there was another one I was, but it never uploaded. So I don't know where the other one went, but there's another one, but I can always just play that later. Yes, I did plug in my mic. Thank you very much.
Well, I thought that was a very beautiful memorial.
Yes.
It was very nice.
Very nice.
Thank you. There's another one, but I don't know why it didn't upload. I thought I uploaded it to share, but I can always share that later. Anyway, I want to welcome everyone to Paranormal Brew. I have, oh my gosh, it's like awesome 4 tortured souls here tonight. Normally it's 3 every first Wednesday of the month. Um, but we actually have all 4 of us together.
Uh-huh. It's the natural order of things, as it should be. And the fact that you're messing up the software and not doing it right, I mean, and you don't have a topic, like, this is exactly us.
Exactly.
That's what we do.
Just what we do.
About as qualified as we are, so we're good.
So we have just plain Tim, or I like to call him Tim Vickers. Love you, Dave Schumacher, and everybody knows Kenny Biddle. He's famous. He's para famous.
He is.
That's it. I'm out of here.
He's famous.
He's a celebrity out of all of us.
Through you guys.
We were there when he signed his first autograph.
Oh
Dave and
my God.
I was gonna say, damn, he never looked better with the camera off. That was good.
I.
Yes, we were there, and I filmed it, and I got to
You
do
did.
something with that video I have of the very first signature for a fan.
He was beaming.
He was
He was
And
like,
then-
oh, of course.
not as much
awesome."
as his fan was.
I wonder how
You're
much
bold.
it's worth. I wonder how much the signature is worth now.
Much less than they paid for the bug.
His mug was worth $10 after he signed it, $2.99.
Yeah. At the 99-cent store.
Somebody said, "Don't say that. He'll get a big head." Ha ha ha.
Yeah. Hey, Cree. How you doing?
Hey,
That's
Donna.
who said it.
Yeah.
Paris celeb.
Oh,
Nice.
jeez.
So quickly, before we get into the topic that I don't have,
Exactly.
We're 2 for 2 on being like the 4 tortured souls here.
Exactly.
it didn't go up on Facebook. I saw it on Facebook.
You broke
Oh,
it.
you are so one of us. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on I'm on Paranormal Brew's Facebook page. I can see it. I don't know.
Broke it.
So can we go around and just my people that don't know you guys, or you guys are, because you guys have been on the brew before, but anybody that hasn't watched or been on, can you just quickly just give everybody a little background about yourselves and what makes you so awesome?
Ooh,
That's difficult.
yeah. I'll just say my name's Tim Vickers, and I ended up with Dave and Kenny from a long time ago from another person that we all got canceled or rejected. I don't know what the word is, but Vickered. Thank you. Yeah, that's right.
You didn't Vickard. Oh, no.
Yeah. He didn't like who my friends were, which is weird. And he didn't like that I challenged his guests that were claiming to be psychic and mediums. So he just kicked me off our show. And then it happened to Kenny, and then it happened to Dave. And we were like, hey, let's just get our own stuff together. And there you go. That's how I ended up.
And it's and then you realize it's so much better like that. It's like almost like a blessing in disguise.
Right.
Together after something like that. I think that's a beautiful thing. David.
David.
Howdy.
David.
David.
Wow, she's awfully formal tonight.
David.
I must
Hi,
be in
David.
trouble. David? Nope. Dave, been interested in this stuff for a very, very long time. Typically have more of an interest in the parapsychology aspects of it. Been in various paranormal groups. Probably really got serious about it in, I don't know, maybe 1999 to 2001 is when I really got into it. Just love different aspects of it, and published a couple papers, big into the science aspects of it, and hang out with this crew here every once in a while on the first Wednesday of every month. So, glad to be here.
I seriously thought you were going to I hang out with these assholes.
I'm going to be nice. I'll have a few more drinks, and then you'll turn into assholes, I'm sure.
There you go. That's good.
Kenner.
So yeah, I'm Kenny Biddle. I am the chief investigator for the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. I've been writing articles and producing videos for them for probably, I would say, the last 10 years or so. And then I recently came on full time about 2.5 years ago. So this is what I do for a living: investigate places and claims and equipment and beliefs and stuff like that. And I try to give a skeptical approach to it and a science-based approach to it, and explain what I see and how I see it. So that's me, and I have the luxury of knowing these gentlemen. And I mean,
Gentlemen.
these are, yeah, I know I'm being extra kind.
You are
But I mean,
Thanks,
we've
Pat.
known each other for years now.
years.
And
Yeah.
like we talk every day. Every day we have something in our chat that has been going for years, and it's nice to be able to bounce ideas off. And once one of us sees something, it's like, oh, do you believe this shit? Look at this,
Look
and
at
we
this.
all share in the torture. So
That's how we got it. That's how we
really
got our
nice.
name.
Yeah.
But would you say, like, Tim and Dave, are you guys more a believer skeptic? Because Kenny's just a skeptic, right? Do you guys? Because sometimes when we talk, I feel like sometimes you guys are more open to the possibility that something on the other side is more possible than what Kenny believes. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Not gonna compare to Kenny, but I think it's more of, I read a lot of stuff. I go through a lot of the publications, and at least to me, I think there's enough data there to support something is going on, that it can't just all be explained away. It's not statistical anomalies. There's something to it. So I guess I'm pretty open to it. And I'm maybe more open than not Kenny, but a cynic. I'm not a cynic, that's for sure. I'm fairly skeptical, maybe not as much as Kenny, but I am fairly skeptical, and it's more of an approach of where the data leads you and how you interpret it, as opposed to just believing and then trying to find things to support your belief. So yeah, I'm open to it. I think there's enough out there that makes it interesting and definitely worthwhile still to look into. And as I always tell people, if you believe that ghosts or the paranormal are real or not, people have the experiences, and just studying those experiences and how they interpret them and why they think it might be due to certain things is interesting.
Right. And I want to say, like, I don't discount things. I don't believe in. I don't have beliefs in, like, the paranormal, ghosts and spirits and afterlife and etc. But I'm still open to it. And
Yeah.
like Dave, I'm not cynical about it. And we actually had this conversation, I think, our last show, where we were talking about, like, I'm open to it, but most of the things that I can help explain and that I'm skeptical about are the smaller claims coming from, like, ghost hunters. Like, oh, this place is haunted because there's a shadow figure, or this thing moved, and it's looking into those that we can usually solve. And it's not. I mean, skeptical. I have a skeptical approach. Yeah, even that people call me a skeptic is one thing, but I don't skeptic stuff. Like, that's not the way you approach it. It's skeptical approach because I have questions and I have doubts about things, and I have questions about their validity and this and that. So it's not like any kind of dismissal or just outright disbelief. It's, I don't
But
know.
you
Show me the money.
You want something to happen,
Yeah, absolutely. Every time I go to a place, I would love for something to happen.
right?
Yeah.
And-
I was going to say, when we went to the place in New Jersey, where I can't remember the name of.
Jersey. Where
We did the test. We did the hidden object challenge there.
Oh, White Hill Mansion.
White Hill Mansion. Yeah, we were there and just messing around. We had some trigger objects that we were having fun testing, and someone came in and was just kind of on not a very professional, but just having fun with us, and they were interviewing us. It was someone we both know, is a good friend of Kenny's, but they were just kind of interviewing us, and both of us at the same time, and definitely Kenny. It was like, we want, like, I would love for it to be true. Like I would love for it. Like it would be world changing vastness. But wanting it to be true isn't enough.
Right.
And as far as my belief is, I kind of go to sum it up kind of quick. To say something doesn't exist is probably just the opposite of to claim that it does exist. I don't think either side is a good place to stand. So I want to believe, but I want to be sure when data is provided to me that it's accurate and valid and it actually supports a claim rather than just me just wanting to believe. I mean, I do want to believe. Like I want it to be real. I want most of this stuff to be real because it would just be so cool.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure, like I want the data to match the claims and verifiable.
Kat says skepticism doesn't mean cynical. They can be mutually exclusive, but being skeptical means wanting all the information and not taking things at face value. Cynics just poo-poo everything.
Good explanation.
Which brings me to my question, because I'm on a podcast with like Stevie Estes and Chris Crimey and them, and it's called Fear the Living. But we talked about this because is there a difference between a debunker and a skeptic?
Yes.
Go ahead, Kevin.
More?
Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah.
Yes, I want more.
I think so. I think we all agree on that one.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just had, ironically, I had this conversation with Lloyd Araback Monday night. We were having a conversation about that, and it brought it up. So, like, skeptical approach again is about having doubts. Somebody makes a claim, whether it's an extraordinary claim or even an everyday claim that you're not used to or you haven't been exposed to, and you're not sure about it. And you just want to know more. You have questions like, what does that mean? How do you know that? This and that, all these questions might come up, and that's having a skeptical approach. Every single one of us is skeptical of something, and we've demonstrated a skeptical approach. But when it comes to calling yourself a debunker, the origin of debunk, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna try and talk quick because it's probably going to be a lot of information. But debunk comes from the word bunk, which is short for Bunkum, which was a town in North Carolina. And around 1900, there was a politician that was making this grand speech, and everyone was calling for him to cut it short, but he wanted to give this grand speech because he wanted the papers to have something to print in the morning to make it look like he was doing his job. And they called him out for nonsense, and they called it bunkum. And that literally means nonsense. So the term has evolved over time to mean to take the falseness out of a claim, often with ridicule. So that's the proper definition, the modern definition of it. So most of the time when you have debunkers, and I do appreciate some of the work they do, a lot of the work they do, because they usually point out a lot of flaws, but that also means that you're going in to purposely prove someone wrong and prove whatever claim's wrong. You're not giving it a chance. That's your bias. You're telling everyone, I have a bias. I'm going in like this. So that's why I don't refer to myself like that, and I don't like when people call me a debunker, because that's, for me, debunking is a result of your investigation. When you find out what really causes an experience, you have debunked the claim that other people have made.
And you have to do extensive research, and you still have to kind of do almost what you do, right? You
got to put your time in.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence and really research the place, understand the components and devices that are being used and the flaws with them. And I mean, we could go on and on and on, especially like we've had this conversation about using devices and tracking data and understanding how it works and what its limitations are. But we don't see that in this community. We see a lot of people see the flashy lights and the little noise making things, and they see it on their favorite TV show, and they buy it without knowing how to use it. They take it to a ghost hunt without knowing how to use it and wait for it to blink or make a noise. And that's just not how you do it. That's not how you perform any kind of science or understanding or try to investigate what's going on.
Right.
So again, I do like a lot of the debunkers in the like the YouTube community, and I work with some of them, but I don't like calling themselves that because again, that's a bias, and I don't think that's a I don't think personally that's a proper way to go into an investigation.
And well, and most of them aren't investigating. They're taking the videos from where these people have investigated, and they're watching these videos and trying to find, like, you do kind of do that on TikTok a little bit, but that's like obvious stuff. That's like obvious, like, okay, is this guy for real? Is he really, like, his blinds aren't flying open, balloons aren't flying all over the place? Do you know
Well,
what I mean?
it depends. Like some of the TikTok videos I do, yeah, I make comments when they're absolutely ridiculous.
great,
Yes, I make
by the way.
commentary, and but for the most part, many of the videos that I make on that platform, they're recreation videos. They're not reaction videos. There are very few reaction videos. Most of them, I show you the claim,
Yeah.
and then I reproduce it and show you that not only I can do it, but this is how you do it.
It's
and
funny. I just caught the best apparition photo ever. No, you didn't.
Yeah, I've done a few of those.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
You're full of shit.
That's the best. It's like you see this video and all of a sudden, Kenny, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
But you do. You do go on then to show how you can
Yeah.
recreate that.
I try to give you the information, even when I do sarcastic and try to joke around like that. I still at least give you the information that backs up what I'm saying, as opposed to what the paranormal claim is being made. So I do try to do that.
So Kimberly Ann is asking, not you, Kenny, so be quiet. Have you two, not Kenny, ever seen anything unexplainable?
Tim,
I'm going to say I've experienced and seen things that I couldn't explain, but that doesn't make them unexplainable. So I have had experiences that I couldn't explain. So yeah, I have.
Mm-hmm. Same for me. And she asked specifically about seeing things. Yeah, one time I thought, and I still don't know what it was, but outside this house that had a supposed history and reports of hearing little kids' voices and all kinds of different activity, and standing outside of that house one time, and it looked like this little boy, probably, I don't know, 5, 6 years old or so, blonde hair, yellow shirt, long, like shorts, blue shorts. And it looked like he ran around the corner of the house between the fence and the house. And, I went back inside. I'm like, hey, somebody's kid just got out and they're running around. And they're like, yeah, no, there's no kid here with that description. So I looked around the backyard, all that, nothing. And again, it's just unexplained. And it was weird because it's almost like when it happened, it didn't look like normal. It was kind of like the field of vision got kind of fuzzy. And no, I hadn't been drinking. That's the first thing I'm sure Tim and Kenny are thinking. But it was weird. It was like a momentary thing where the edges of the field of vision were kind of blurry, and then you saw this kid run around the side of the house, and I have no idea. I just don't know what it was. It's unexplained at this point. But yeah, that would be the one thing that I've seen over very, very many years of looking into this and doing those things. That's the only time anything like that had ever happened.
That's interesting.
So I don't know what it is. I mean, it could have been another kid in the neighborhood, but I don't know. But It was just weird. The overall experience was different than just normally observing somebody.
Right.
So I don't know what it was. Could have been drinking, but I wasn't.
Cree says, I've asked Kenny this. He hates when investigators call what they feel energy. He hates that. What should they be using?
Disturbance in the force.
Mike, drop.
A disturbance in the force?
Disturbance in the force.
I say that because the term energy is used as a placeholder in the community. And I think it's used primarily by people who don't understand what that means. And when you try to define it, energy is the ability to do work. And however form it comes in. So you want to use it in the right context, and it's used in this community as a way to say, well, I walked in to the room and I feel an evil energy. Energy is not evil. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just depending on the type of energy we're talking about, radiation or radio frequency or whatever. It's
Thermal,
not
hydraulic.
kinetic. I mean, it's not good or bad. It's not evil or angelic or anything like that. It's just there. It's the ability to do work. And like when I see, oh my God, I was watching a ghost hunting show because I had to, and the main character is going, well, the ghost was using its energy and it was stealing our energy to use it to build its own energy, and its energy was infecting the device and stuff. And I'm like, shut the fuck up! God damn, you have no idea what that word means. And it's just it's word salad. It becomes word salad. So that Cree's right. I do hate when it's used like that, because it tells me the person using it out of context doesn't know what they're talking about, and it annoys me. So I said my piece. I'm good.
I kind of think maybe there is a better way to articulate it.
Mhm.
I kind of think if you could not use that word, but say if you are experiencing a feeling of uneasiness, or I am experiencing a feeling of sudden joy, or I am I'm having a feeling of blissfulness or dread.
Mhm.
When I enter this, or when I hold this, I am feeling this. I think that would probably be better, and it would probably at least orate a more descriptive idea that somebody else could empathize with what you're saying. So bad energy, I think, that's, are you scared? Are you like, I get it. I understand why people use it. I do think it is a placeholder too. Like we talk about several words that are placeholders. But just to be able to orate and use better descriptions of what you're feeling. So if you talk about what you're feeling, then people just can't say you're not feeling that. But you could also just be in like, hey, oh crap, I forgot all that. Like, we got a drink.
You got about 3 drinks to go there, Tim.
Oh, I made my
Well,
drink too.
I mean, what about the people that walk that like they're in a room and they say, "Oh, the energy shifted in here."
Well, what do you mean by that? What are you picking up? What are you perceiving?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are you perceiving? Specifically, I've heard people say that. And
I
if
don't
you
know.
ask them,
I don't ever
what do
feel
you
anything like
mean?
that.
What do you
So
mean?
that's
They're
why
like,
I'm
okay,
asking.
I feel like there is a shift in the mood. Okay, that's a little better, but what are you
That's better.
talking
Of
about?
course, if somebody
I'm
walks in and they're all pissed
perceiving a
off,
change in my. It's like, okay, they say like the atmosphere seems to
yeah,
have changed. Like, how is it colder? Does it feel damper? Does it feel like the air is more heavy? Because these are things that are actually due to environmental changes that you could be picking up on, or you could just be freaking yourself out and having an internal reaction to something. So
Yep.
using a term energy, you don't even know if it was the energy that shifted in the room. It might just be you freaking yourself out, and there's no change in anything in the environment. It's just you and the way you're perceiving something. So I think energy is just a bad word to use as a general descriptor. You need to really get specific about why and what they're perceiving in the environment or how they're feeling and have them describe it.
yeah. I mean, when somebody walks, if you're in a room with a bunch of people that are like all happy and everybody's laughing and joking, and somebody walks in pissed off, that can definitely make the mood in the room
But see,
change.
that's the key
Right.
word. The mood in the room can
Yeah,
change
that's
because you're
better.
picking up on the negative mood of that person, which everybody else is kind of going to respond to. So it's a
Right.
mood thing. It's not an energy. They didn't change
True.
the energy and the mood. It's just some asshole walked in.
Right.
That's about it.
I always like think
Usually
about
it's
it when
Kenny.
you're in high school smoking in the boys' room and the principal walks in. Like, you're in there having a good time, you're skipping class, and then damn it, the principal comes in. Everything changes. Like, the
Right.
mood drops. It becomes tense, and you know that your mom's going to get a phone call and you're going to get your ass kicked when you get home. So Yeah,
Mhm.
the energy shifted, and the energy shifted to my mom's paddle. It's going to be heat and sound and pain energy.
Kim said, just got out of the shower and listening. Do you not think people can feel energy?
Well,
What kind of energy?
how do you define energy there?
Right.
Like a change in the electrostatic field, yeah, humans probably can pick up on that. A change in the temperature, yeah, you can pick up on that. There's even studies that show now that humans, even though it might be subconscious and you don't know it, your brain picks up on changes in electromagnetic and geomagnetic fields. So
Mhm.
yeah, you can pick up changes, but again, it comes down to what energy are you talking about?
Right.
And
What
that's
is it?
I
What
think that's the
environmental
point.
factor are you picking up on? So can you pick that up? Yeah, and you can pick up things that you don't know what they are, so they seem anomalous to you or weird to you, and your body may interpret them in a certain way. Even, positive and negative ions have different effects on people. And you can say, "Oh, this room doesn't feel right. I'm kind of depressed." Well, sometimes that can be correlated with very, very, very high levels of positive ion count. So yeah, we can pick up things in the environment, but just to say because the energy changed, you gotta dig into it. And that's why I'm a big fan of data logging environmental factors and conditions to see what is changing. So when somebody does, as Kimberly said, does say they picked up on a change in the energy of the room, what are they picking up on? What could it be? What's it correlated to?
And there's also conditioning factors. That's what I'm trying to think of. So uh, I can only I know that it's kind of discussed a lot, but depending, like you could be conditioned to a certain type of environment or a certain type of person or a smell or a sound. You could be conditioned to that sound to be afraid of it, tense to it, you welcome to it, comforted by it. So I often use the example of growing up in a home where maybe there was domestic violence and somebody in the home was very violent, and um, you just notice how they walk, you notice how they smell,
Mm.
you notice their faces. Like when you're a child, like you pick up cues for self-survival. You know when to go into the room, you know when not to go in the room. So you become conditioned to that as a child, and
Mhm.
some of that will go into your adulthood. So maybe you walk into a new environment and somebody has the same type of look, or
Similar.
somebody has a similar scent, or
Mhm.
maybe there's colors that you've associated with different types of dangers as a child.
Mhm.
Maybe it's not energy as much as it is your body preparing itself for fight, flight, or freeze, and that's what you're feeling, but you're not really sure why. It just your body can be conditioned to environmental stimuli that prepares you to
Stimuli. I like that.
stimuli to do some survival. And maybe that's what it's picking up on. I'm not saying it's always the answer. I'm just saying it's another possibility that it could be in the mix.
I
Um,
also like one example when especially when we're talking about devices, like the ghost hunting devices. You have you could have three different devices go off, and someone else will be like, "Well, that's their energy." But again, we're getting into clarifications because you have like K2 meters, which suck, but they they
Damn it,
pick up
Kenny!
on electro. I
In the
know.
middle of the
I
drink.
saw you starting to take a drink, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get them."
Ooh.
That's electromagnetic energy. That's a type of energy. You can have a static dome, which picks up static electricity. It's a different kind of energy. You can have a thermometer that picks up on thermal energy. So these are different types of energy, but so we have to be specific. What device is picking up what kind of quote unquote energy? So not cat balls, Robert. I see that. Not cat balls. Stupid.
hold on.
Such a silly tool.
Let's see. Hold on. There's some. All right.
And some of the not Kenny ones.
So Kim said, well, here, hold on. Let's do this one first. What? I gotta hold on a second. Something is.
Oh, it's that Kenny finds what he believes is what really happened. I don't think he outright dismisses people.
Okay.
I was willing to watch. Yeah, I don't. I don't. If it comes to like Zach Baggins, yeah, I don't consider him anything but a tool. Um, and that's it. I don't consider a lot of people interested in science. They just want you to watch. Clicks and views is what they're out there for. So I don't really give them much consideration unless there's a specific claim. If people are saying like, "Oh, well, they did this and it's really amazing. Nobody can figure it out," then I'll take a look. Not saying that I can figure it out, but I'll at least take a look and give it a try. So I try not to dismiss um, the majority of people out of hand. It's just I want to see what they do, and I'll listen to them. I mean, if you knew the kind of people that call me at my office every day now, and the claims that they make, you would weep for humanity.
But like, are what surprises me is that these people reach out knowing you do what you do, and they come to you and they say, "Look at this photo I captured. Look at this video I have. Look at this." Like, we think it's this. What do you think? And you say, "Well." You get all the facts. You say, what kind of camera did you use? What this and that. And, you get the answers, and then you give them your opinion, and then they cuss you out, hate you up and down because you didn't say exactly what they thought it was.
That happens.
Mhm.
That does happen. Yeah.
I just don't understand what their thought process is like going into contacting you. You know what I mean? For your opinion when it's already there. Like,
it depends on the person. I mean, some people they thoroughly believe that they have something genuine or they can do something like have some kind of superpower.
so
And
is that like them trying to prove to you as opposed to get your opinion?
well, they want both, or not everyone wants an opinion. They want verification. They want validation, and that's it. They don't ask. Like I've had people outright say, "I just need you to validate this." And I ask them like, "Well, can you send me the information?" No, just validate this. Like, all right, bye. That's when I dismiss people. I'm not going to put up with that. Because I don't work for you, and I'm doing this as a courtesy. Two, if you're not going to send me information that I request, I can't help you. So, but yeah, I mean, if they send me stuff or they truly believe that they can do it, I mean, I test people. I perform tests. I have people come to the center and we test them for abilities that they claim to have, and we try to be as fair as possible. And it's half and half when they fail the tests. Some of them reject what we did, and the other half are like, "Well, all right, I guess I don't have that ability. I can't do it," which is great. Like that's a good conversation. But yeah, you're gonna. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. Kim has a question. Robert says they call us first and then we send them to Kenny.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Thanks.
Hi, Brandon. Hey, everyone. People are too close-minded. I've sent Kenny a video before and he gave me his honest opinion. He also did it in person at New Jersey Paracon when a team member of mine showed him a video they believed was paranormal.
Mhm.
I don't always agree with Kenny or Dave and just plain Tim, but I respect his opinions and I can agree to disagree. I do my best not to beat a dead horse. It's all good.
Yeah, don't beat it too long because it gets all squishy and stuff.
Kim is like not loving you tonight, Kenny, for some reason.
That's okay. I'm
not
used to it.
Kenny. Do the others believe in that people have abilities like psychic mediums?
I'll go. So, based on statistical analysis and data, there is enough there to say that there's something going on. What is it? I don't think we know yet. I think it's not as widespread, and I don't think as many people probably have those abilities as everyone would like to think. And it takes a lot of testing and a lot of detailed analysis to get something. And I also think, there's the criticism of some of the earlier studies that the controls weren't good, which are very valid and legit. They've tightened those up, they've done more studies, and the results, at least the statistical analysis, stays about the same. But it's tough because it's hard to detect. It takes a lot of work, and even when somebody gets positive results, they don't necessarily say it's paranormal. They just say, yeah, statistically, this person guessed X number of cards out of 10 or whatever, and it's statistically significant. I think they're still trying to figure out what is going on. And then you get this whole, there's a lot of noise? Are they just picking up a small signal and a lot of noise? Do you have to refine how you do the studies? That's a whole nother aspect to it. But I think the one thing people need to realize is what you see on TV with psychics and what you see at a lot of people who think they're psychic and they're doing readings at paracons and other places. That's a world of difference than what's being studied by academics. That's a total different type of setting and the way people do things.
So if somebody took it up that $500,000 thing, is that what you're referring to, Dave? Like what they would be doing would be different than what
Kenny and I will have disagreements on this. I don't think that's a scientific test at all, because I mean it's a good start. And I say that because, one, even if they did pass, that's not going to convince anybody this phenomenon is real. Because I could actually sit here and say, well, they just duped the couple of people that are running the test. You'd have to do more tests. And I think even Kenny agrees with that. Even if somebody passed that, you'd still want to do more testing to make sure it's legit and repeatable. But that's not, because if you look at one of the things you do in science is you look at prior results and studies to aim for what you would look at for being statistically significant. And it's a very small effect, but it is a statistically significant effect. And if you do one trial, even if you do 3 trials in a day, it's not going to have enough data to really tell you for sure. And I think the one thing I've noticed, Kenny probably knows more about this than I do. I've only just looked at it, a little bit, but the levels of statistical significance that they set in order to pass the test it's a high bar.
Mm-hmm.
So you literally have to be probably superhero level to pass some of those. It would almost be like if you ask me, let's say you say, Dave, I don't believe free throws are a real thing in basketball unless you can get 80% and make 80% of the baskets. I want to tell most people you pull off the street aren't going to make 80% of the baskets. You want to try to find individuals that have a certain talent and ability, and you got to test people that are there's something called the normal distribution curve, and you want to be testing those that are like exceptional. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great way to screen people, but I think just honestly, I don't think you're ever going to say somebody or a phenomena exists through that challenge.
So, but is that what go ahead. Sorry.
We agree and disagree on certain things. Like, yeah. I would say the tests that are performed are catered specifically for the applicant and the information that they provide.
That's a great point. That's a really good point.
I would consider it a scientific test. Do I agree that it's the end all be all? Absolutely not. I'm with you on that. It would require more testing, but it is based on the information provided, the ratio of what they give. Like if they say I get it half the time, that's taken into consideration.
That's a fair point. That's a really good point. Right. Yeah. And I mean, and honestly, the people, because if I understand this right, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, you're working on a protocol with them and they have to accept it.
Right.
And quite honestly, if there was a researcher who had, done this for 30 years and he looked at what the actual success rates of hits were and statistical significant, nobody would agree to those high numbers, because that's just not what you see in the published literature. But if somebody makes a claim, though, you're absolutely right. If I say I can turn this show off with my mind 50% of the time it's on. That's a legitimate claim, and
Please don't do that.
it's a test that should be run, and then you're going to prove it or not based on what I said I could do. So I do agree with that. That's
And
a good
it does. It is something that is mutually agreed upon. All the protocols and conditions and limitations, everything's agreed upon. But there is a limit to how far we would stretch that. You know, like if they want things that would obviously allow them to cheat, we're not going to allow it. But then, like for the last guy that we tested, the one Dowser, he claimed that he could do it 100% of the time. That anything that you, yeah, I know, but
dude, I can't even do my normal job at work 100% of the time.
Right. So we gave him we gave him 10 tests and said you have to get 8 out of 10 in order to pass the preliminary test.
Yeah,
and
fair.
That was fair based on his percentage of his success rate. So with that, but yeah, I also agree that doesn't mean that they have a superpower or don't have a superpower. It just, well, in some conditions, I would say, yeah, until you test again and show something different, then right now this is what our consensus is. But more testing would be needed, especially if they did win. But I think that is across the board. If somebody went into a lab and they did it one time, that's not going to change the world.
It's never acceptable.
Yeah.
They do it over and over and over and over again.
And the challenge that we offer is more of a gateway. It's saying, hey, here it is. There's a prize with it. You can either keep it or donate it to charity. But this is a way in because it is professionals that put this test together. It's not just people off the street.
I guess one question I have for you is, it's obviously run by the Center for, what is it? I'm sorry, Jesus.
Center for Inquiry. It's actually it's the Center for. It was originally the investigations group, the independent investigations group, that secured the prize money, and they merged with us. But the board and the panel, we're psychologists, biologists. I mean, we have a.
Are the people that set up and do the testing, are they skeptics? Are they believers, or are they neutral? Or do they ever involve like an academic parapsychologist?
I don't know about the academic parapsychologist because I think that would, as far as I know, they're far and few between, at least in the States. But there are academics involved, and I would say that they are more in the range of skeptical to neutral.
It'd be interesting to see what the ratio is, because obviously there's that whole experimenter effect, and
right. And
I mean, we can accuse a believer of being biased. I mean, you can go the other way too. You can be like, well, you're setting up the test to be difficult and not. I don't know. There's so many variables. That's why this is tough.
That's why we make sure everyone's happy. I'm sorry. What?
I'm sorry. I cut you off. Go ahead.
That's why we make sure everything's cool with the applicant. They have to agree to it and say it's fair.
Yeah.
And we usually talk to them before the test and say, do you think this is fair? Yes. Okay, great. There should not be a problem.
One of them passes.
How many do you know how many people have signed up for it?
I know I don't have numbers. I know that we have. I can actually look it up.
I'm just
I
curious.
can see how many people applied.
So
if you talk amongst
yourself, while he's looking that up, I just want everybody to know, like, this is like when Kenny was saying we talk to each other all the time on chat. Like, this is what our chats look like, going back and forth. I will say one I had with Dave was biophotons. And I was like, bullshit. And then so I started looking it up, and I watched the history of biophotons as it emerged through testing. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry, Dave. It's not bullshit.
and all this could be similar to what Tim just said. It could be something very natural. We just don't understand it yet.
Right.
We just don't know what that is. People used to think thunderstorms were gods that were upset or bullying or causing or fighting, and you find out later through more knowledge, more information. It's a perfectly natural phenomenon. I think that's probably what we're going to find out at some point. If this, and I'm still going to say, I think there's something to it, but if this is real and if it is something that's beyond what we currently know, it's going to turn out probably to be something normal we just didn't understand.
Cree says, I know you don't believe in psychics, Kenny, and I don't know how this test is run, but I am curious. Can that work? Because psychics may not be able to work that way. They are people, not machines.
So I would say it depends on who you talk to. I wouldn't make a general statement like that because everyone presents themselves in a different way, and they have. I mean, I've seen signs. At the one Para Unity conference we went to, there was a lady sit up next, right across from me, that
Dun,
her
dun,
sign,
dun.
her sign said that she was like 95% accurate. You know, like that's a bold claim.
It's an easy one to test.
Yeah. So I mean, you can. When they say they're not machines, like we don't know that. I make it a point, and again, this is on the application too. But I also make it a point when I sit for any kind of psychic reading or something to ask them, "What can you do? What exactly are you doing? Are you getting visions? Are you just hearing auditory hallucinations? No, I don't say it like that. Like, do you hear it like, in your head? But are you talking to your spirit like you're talking to me? Do you see them like you see me, like a solid figure? Because if you
like the movie Ghost,
like if they say yes, then you should be able to describe it. If you hear them, this is especially important. If you hear them like you hear me talking to you right now, what's their fucking name? That's all you have to do. Give me a first and last name. Sorry, I didn't mean to say F.
That's okay.
That's it. That's all you have to do. And I mean, these are the kind of people that want to be tested or try to be tested. And they give you the description, but once you ask questions as simple as that, then it becomes, oh, well, I can't do it all the time. Even though they started out saying, yes, they could.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing what, as long as you flash a credit card, their powers work all the time. So, sorry. Now I got that triggered me.
Oh yeah, it works. It's accurate 95% of the time, but every time you ask during the 5% that it's not. So,
and people aren't machines, and I think that's one of the things. If you look into parapsychology, is they've acknowledged that, and it's hard to sometimes test for these things because a lot of them seem to be spontaneous and they seem to occur in more real life situations. So when you pull them out and put them in the lab, that's a completely different setting. So it's a little difficult sometimes to do that. So when you're trying to test, and I think this is actually something I've seen in the challenges, they ask them what they can do. They try to, it looks, at least appears to me, they try to put them in a setting that's either similar or comfortable and at ease, and try to make it as much real life as they can. But that's pretty important because it is hard to sometimes pull people out of a normal environment and put them in a lab and go, okay, now prove that you can do this. It's just a whole different dynamic and setting. And there's this experimenter effect that can influence how you do, how you respond to things. So there's a lot of different variables you got to consider. And it's why this is not an easy field to study. And it's the same thing when you look at some aspects and things of sociology and psychology and a lot of anthropology. Even these aren't things that people can easily pull into the lab and do. You sometimes have to go out in the field and observe and do your experiments in the natural environment. And environmental biology is a huge example of that. A lot of the stuff you have to do field studies, go out and actually be in the field. So I think there's a lot of complicating variables to it.
Right. So I have some numbers.
Okay.
So these are stats, but they're from 2023. 132 people applied. Only 7 were tested. And there's 43 cases still open.
So
go ahead, ask.
Oh, I like, why is there so many? Like, is it getting them out there? Is it like, you know what I mean? Like,
there's preparation. I mean, there's a lot of.
Oh, okay.
I mean, again, it comes back to how much work is on our side of it.
Right.
And I think, Dave and Tim both can appreciate it. Like, it's when you make a claim and you fill out the application, there's a process where you got to go back and forth to clarify it, because some people will write in, even though the application specifically says write in detail what you can do. People will say, I can find objects, and that's it. So there's other people do fill it out and really get detailed, but you have to go back and forth and make sure you clarify exactly what they're talking about. And then setting up a test takes some time, and they have to get out to the facility, which is usually in LA, themselves on their dime. We don't pay for you to come out and do it. So they have to get out there. They have to schedule that depending on what the claim is. One example I bring up a lot is there was a woman that claimed that she could, through psychic powers, determine if someone had both kidneys or not, like if they were missing a kidney. And we had to get an ultrasound machine in order to make sure that the test subjects that we were using, like, did they have both? Did they have one missing? Because I don't know which one, but there's one, right or left is the most common that's donated when you donate a kidney to somebody. So we had to find somebody that had the other one just in case, you know, and you have to verify all this. So renting a machine and a technician to do that for the day, there's a lot of money involved and a lot of planning. So we do have a rule that if you agree to the test and you follow through, but then don't show up, you're not allowed to apply for at least a year, because of all the time that goes into it.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's weeks or months planning it to make sure everything works right.
Probably money too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's expensive. It gets expensive.
Well,
Yeah.
if somebody wins, they get 500 grand. That's a lot.
Well, they have to do two. Like the preliminary test is what I usually take part in when I can, and that's based on what they told us. We perform a test, and it's partly to test again on what they have informed us of already, but also to observe what they're doing, because maybe there's something they're doing that we wouldn't know unless we observe it.
Right.
And everything is filmed, so that we can see it from different angles and all that stuff. Because, I mean, some of the magicians I know still amaze the hell out of me. And if you got someone that's good at sleight of hand or any of these other tricks, they could easily fool you.
I love watching street musicians, street magicians. They're phenomenal.
Well, yeah, and then
The sleight of hand.
Dana, one of my peaches, she has a magician show up to her Christmas party every year. He's awesome. And then when I witnessed the Kreskin guy at the Warrens Paracon the first year that started, I think he's passed away now, but
David Blaine.
Yep.
yeah, I mean, that guy, from what I saw, that was like cool. Now I know he's a magician, so I know there's ways that he's doing the things he's doing, but you know, it's how explain it.
Kreskin. I have something. I have Kreskin's Ouija or his board game, and I also have his pendulum.
You know what? Can I say something really quick too? What's crazy is last week I was going to message you guys and ask how likely would it be that Joe Nickel came on the Paranormal Brew, because I was going to reach out to him, and then literally 2 days later, I saw something where he passed away.
Yeah.
So
He wouldn't come on.
He wouldn't have come on.
No, he wouldn't have come on. He despised the internet. He thought it was something that was a fad, and he.
Well, there's at least one thing he was wrong about.
Don't get me started, man. He every time I saw him, he was like, "I want to go back to stage coaches and horses," and I was like, "Yeah, that's never going to happen unless, you know, apocalyptic thing happens. We're not going back there." But he thought the internet was a fad, that podcasts were all a fad. They were going to go away anytime now. So yeah, he would not have come on.
Well, okay. May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
I don't know this. Hi, Dan. Dan said, question. Actress Marilu Henner is known for her highly superior autobiographical memory. Would you consider that paranormal or a superpower?
I want to say, if if I could retire and go back to school, I would focus on these type of psychology problems. Like these are fascinating to me, and I don't know if it was the R show, but the term synesthesia came up, which
Yeah.
is something else that happened that a lot of people didn't know. And there's a lot of these, but there are just some that are popular, and this is one that I love. It's some people can remember everything said. Some people can remember everything that they read. Some people can remember everything that they see.
Photographic memory too. Yeah.
Yeah, even more than that. It's so your brain has a tendency to save power. So by saving some power, that you don't blindness. What's the situational blindness? Your brain's just kind of like, well, we're just going to focus on what we need to because we're really lazy. And we're not going to pay attention to the stuff going around unless something pops or moves real quick or something might startle us and make us think we're going to die. Then your brain kicks in. But this, I love these. I love the idea. I love reading about them. I wouldn't consider it paranormal. I wouldn't consider it necessarily a superpower unless how you want to describe or define superpower. I think that they certainly have a very unique ability. Very unique. I mean, could you call it a superpower for fun? Sure, you could if you wanted to. But it goes back to I do know in a very general sense that the brain, like your brain is active a lot and you have repression, not I don't want to say stimulation, but that's the only thing that's come to my mind. So your brain actually represses a lot of the things that are going on. So if you lose that repression or if something gets released, then your brain stimulates and goes into overdrive. So I kind of wonder if situations like that are where part of the brain is not repressing your memory so that you don't have to remember everything. But yeah, we studied this in college and university. I loved it. I would definitely go back. This was one of the ones that just absolutely fascinated me. I love that. I love synesthesia too, because that is just like, it's hard to get a picture of what that experience is. And if you don't know what that is, it's like people can taste numbers. They can taste colors. They can have smells of words, smells of colors. And what it is synesthesia is just their sensories are active in the brain. They actuate differently. So I don't know, I like the question a whole lot. I don't know if it's paranormal. I would not say that it's paranormal because it's certainly studied and it's certainly replicated and it's certainly seen within a certain percentage of the population.
Yeah.
So it's not outside of being normal. Is it outside of what maybe you would normally consider human behavior? Sure. But I don't think that it's outside of anything that would be considered paranormal. Yes, the brain is weird. I love the brain. That's the whole reason I got into it. I do. I absolutely do. I can't get enough of psychology and human behavior because it's just fun. But yeah, I saw that question and I was like, I'm going to jump on this one because I love this one. Yeah, I do. So if I would retire, I literally would go back to school. That sounds crazy or stupid, but I would. And I think this is definitely on the top of the list that I would study.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Jim is asking, how many ghost hunters do you guys think actually believe in ghosts, or are they just doing it for contact and recognition? I believe.
That's a I could only categorize it in, and this is probably, I'm sure that it's not going to be a valid test or accurate, but I think if you're making money or you're profiting or you have some type of gains in it, and gains isn't always a profit. Sometimes gain is self-fulfillment, getting rewards from your popularity. I tend to wonder, but I would imagine I would imagine the vast majority of the people that get into it have had an experience or have had experiences that they just crave that I want to know more. And some people veer off into the TV ghost hunting shows and think that that's the way to go. And some people veer off into picking up books and reading about ways to test it. And then some people, and I've never had a problem with, some people just enjoy it. Like, it doesn't bother me. People going out enjoying it. Like, I would love to go out ghost hunting. I would just enjoy it.
Come
I
with
think
me.
it's perfectly
You can come with
fine.
the Peaches whenever.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. Like, it's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And, even though you're just like, here we go. But you're like, oh, what if this is the time? So there's always that, like, there's that one little thing, like, what if this is it? Like, what if this is the one? We have a question amongst ourselves that we like to talk about and ask questions. I'll throw it out to people there. Like, who do you think could cause more damage to a family? A psychic that is faking it for money, or a psychic that believes that they have the power to answer your questions? Specifically, like in the case of a missing child or a missing loved one, like people that go to law enforcement and say, I can help this family, but I need to have access to the family. Who's more dangerous? Like the one that knows that they're scamming, or the one that actually believes that they can, and they give them information that is completely false? And that's not to be answered. Yeah, I mean, you can. Yeah, you can.
It's the one that knows they're scamming, because
Really?
not only are they taking advantage of these people's emotions and feelings and what they're going through, and totally mind effing them in an emotional, and they're also taking their money as well, knowing full well that they are not legit. They're doing this solely just for the money.
Mm-hmm.
But that puts the blame on the person pretending. That's not the actual damage.
Well, I don't know what you mean. I am putting the blame on the person.
So the question is, I think what you're asking, Tim, is like, what's more damaging? A person that knows they're faking it and does it anyway, or the person that believes they're being real and
but if you believe in yourself and you think you're doing the right thing, or you think you're helping,
right?
That's
not the damage that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The damage comes from the result of the information that's given.
Right, but if you're making it up, instead of believing that you are communicating, you know what I mean? Instead of believing and you're in this, like, it's almost like you're in it together with the family, and as opposed to against, like, you're just here just to get their money and run, and you don't care what you say to them.
Right, but that's not the damage. That's not the damage.
At the end,
that's the selfish attitude. That's the deception. The damage comes from the misuse of resources by the police because they're following the advice.
I thought you were just talking about. I thought you were just saying like somebody going into a home and like Robert Regan, remember? Like,
yeah, I know him. Yeah,
I'm just saying. Remember, he was going into homes. I thought that's what you were saying. Going into homes and claiming that he could help children pass over and do all this stuff. And, you know what I mean? Like, to me, knowing he knows, like, he was a fraud.
But again, there's a disconnect here. There's a difference between the person going in knowing they're being deceitful is committing fraud. They know they're lying. The person that believes that they can do this even if they can't, and we're this is only the assumption that they cannot. All right, but they believe they do. They're going in there with good intentions, but they're still giving the same information. Okay. So that information goes to the family, which is then transferred to the police. So now the damage is because the police are following the leads from a psychic instead of following the detective work. So they're dedicating resources to, let's look for a place near water, or let's look for a place that let's look for a guy named John, or starts with a J name, because they're devoting resources which should be focused on the actual investigation part, the detective part, not the information that's coming in from a not known to be reliable source. So the damage is wasted time. Because if there was a missing person and let's say they don't have too long to live, I would rather rely on the police detective work, basing it on the fact, than the information coming in from someone claiming to be a psychic.
100%. I would not.
That's where the
If I had
damage.
if I had a missing loved one or something like that, I would not want a psychic medium on the case. I would want detectives, police,
Right.
all that stuff.
Especially if they
So-
claim to work on missing person cases.
John without an H kind of summed up my position, because I tend to believe that someone who believes they're psychic can cause more harm to the family. I think that they just really could involve the family into a falsehood of hope to be even more crushed. It's
But I think it's
devastating. I would proffer that a charlatan would be conscientious about the information he gives so that he can prolong, or she or they can prolong
for the money.
So they might not offer exactly testable or valid information that could be just found right away. And I don't know if they would. I think probably. I would think, and this is all, of course, hypothetical. This is just, I kind of think it's a fun thought experiment to kind of place where you might be. But my thought would be that they would prolong it and withhold some of the information and not give information so clear that it could be tested right away, so that they could continue the monetary, even if it's not monetary. Remember, gains come in different forms. So gains could come in notoriety, getting your name out in the paper, getting more people to like your page. So I kind of think that they might withdraw some of the information. Whereas I think, just like I agree with John, like they would be so into it that they could falsely bring someone into a false worldview and divert a complete way of thinking that would be correct. If the police are telling them, hey, we have these leads and this person has this type of car, we have a couple of video hits of this car in the area where this child was last seen, and the other person is like, no, I'm hearing this child cry to me and they were in a van, and that's the person that's believing it. And as a person, like 26 years I've worked in crimes against children, and I've been with parents with missing, and I can't tell you like the palpable pain.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, even in my state of where I am, if my child was missing, I can't promise you that if someone came to me and said, look, I had this dream and I think I know where your kid's at, I'm not going to say hell no. I'll be like, yeah, tell me. I mean, maybe, because you will want every thread to hold on to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's
Now,
what I'm saying. Like, more of the damage is done. Like, if somebody's willingly knowing they're lying to you and going to you, deceiving you that way for money, and you're just going to keep on giving money because you're in desperation. I think Cree said that. Like, a lot of people do call in to psychics and mediums, like when they feel the police have no leads, because they are desperate. And all they have to do is know they're desperate. The ones that are knowingly and willingly doing this just for the money,
I think when Kane was saying there's like we're kind of missing a step. I think another question maybe to identify like what we're talking about differently is, who's the biggest asshole? The person that's cheating somebody on purpose, or the person that thinks that they're just, and they genuinely want to help. I mean, obviously it's the person that's cheating you on purpose.
Correct.
Someone that genuinely believes that they're going to help, I don't think that they're doing it necessarily out of
malice.
Yeah. But the damage, which would lead to more damage in the family, and by damage, like defined emotionally, psychologically, financially, diverting resources, giving false hope. And that's the type of damage I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question. Who thought that?
No, that was good. You did it.
I did it?
Yeah.
No wonder it was a good question.
Is there one piece of equipment that you feel may be affected? Not 100, but because nothing is.
I do, 100%. Science book. And I would start with Carl Sagan, Demon Haunted World.
Oh, it's a good book. Such a good book.
Dave,
Good
what do
book.
you think?
Any
We all
piece
know
of
what Ken thinks.
I know what
any,
Dave's going to say.
any piece of equipment you understand what it does and you're using it for that purpose is effective. There's a lot of work. There's articles, lots of articles, reviews. A recent one, I think it's called "Things That Go Bump in the Literature: Frontiers in Psychology." I think it was.
Very
They
good.
talk about those environmental changes or things in the environment that have been explored or could be associated or correlated with people's anomalous experiences. Comes down to infrasound. There's been temperature changes supposedly reported, magnetic fields, electromagnetic fields. These are things that, not that they're caused by a ghost or a
You
ghost
been
feeds
haunted,
on
Ken?
the energy of that, but they've been shown that there there's something going on at supposedly haunted locations that's different than other locations. But I think anything that's designed a quality piece of equipment that you understand and it does what it's supposed to do is a good piece of equipment. But the other part of that is, I would always say, you got to have something that actually records and logs the data so you can look at it. So are there good pieces of equipment? Absolutely. Are the ones being sold as ghost detectors good? No, absolutely not.
Well, I have to say, Dave changed my worldview a long time ago, and I really love that about us. Like we just sometimes we can hash it out, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun disagreeing with them because it's almost like expected, and it's if all three of us were thinking the same thing, it would be boring. But he introduced me to the ideas, and like always knew about data loggers, but I didn't really understand but data loggers, at least if you're buying a quality one, like what you're measuring. And the secret, I think, that we all came up with was to measure over time and not the 4 hours you're inside someone's house. It has to be, you really need a long amount of data, which I was going to do until I very quickly found out that shit's expensive and it takes a lot of, you have to find somebody that's going to read all that data. But if somebody could do that, I would want to see a data logger in houses where they have experiences, and then places in the houses where they don't, and then places somewhere else that's probably not even that house, but close to that house, and run it for a minimum of a year. And Dave forewarned me. He was like, "You're not going to get anybody to run all that data." But if you did that for a year, then you could identify, along with certain other information, you could identify patterns. You could identify spikes. You could see it better. Like you would have a better understanding graphically what happens in that house. And I love that idea. I love it. Like I wish I could see that done. But I can't afford it.
To
So
figure out what does it correlate with anything, though.
Yes.
Right.
If you leave a piece of equipment running, even if you get all these spikes and dips, so
Yeah.
does it correlate with something else? Does it correlate with an experience? And I think there's been a movement in a new type of analysis where actually you don't need to let it run for years on end, because you're looking for levels of change in the environmental readings and you try to correlate them with something. And then you can actually use the baseline of the data that's being collected at the time as your baseline. You take the data, there's a baseline, and then you do a statistical analysis. Then you look for certain changes that correlate with other things. So, I mean, Tim's idea is a great one. Maybe we don't need to do it for a full year at a time, but you got to take little chunks of it, but you also need to know how to analyze it, and does it correlate with anything? That's the key. And the other thing that people miss is when they're walking around with the handheld stuff is, you're walking around, you're changing the location, you're changing the orientation, you're going to pick up things that might always be there, but if you turn your hand a little bit, you pick it up, turn it again, it doesn't. So it's not data logging is super important. You got to do it over time, but you need to know how to properly analyze it. And there's a way to do that if you do it short term or long term. There's ways to get around some of the challenges, but there's some pretty advanced statistics in doing the short term data analysis, which Tim will be able to fill us in on.
I had statistics twice in college. I know what I'm talking about.
All right, so I have a question, and quickly we'll touch on this because I never really, unfortunately, had to leave when we did that experiment where we had the 4 objects, and I came on the show. I was the first one because I had to go do my show, right? And the one object that I put back in the box and said, "Screw you," I didn't like it, was the one that was supposedly the haunted object or the whatever was, I had to go. So I never really heard what you guys thought about it. I never heard so for anybody that doesn't know, there was an experiment that Tim, I believe you had it. Was it you and Dave or all 3 of you? I feel like
We all 3 had the idea, but I got to mail out everything.
Okay. So there were 4 people, 4 objects. We didn't know what the objects were. We didn't know who the other people were. We knew nothing. We just were getting an object once a month, mailing it back. But every day we would log any changes that we felt, whatever. The one thing for me was a rocking horse that I had out, and all this stuff started happening. And I was like, I don't know if it was in my head, but I knew that thing was the only difference in my house. And I said, if one more thing happens, I'm putting this thing away, because it was just freaking me out. And I put it away. And after that, nothing happened. So that was what and then I had to go do my show. So I never really got your guys' opinions about anything else, or if anybody else felt the same with the same object. I have no idea what happened with that.
I think Tim didn't write that up.
Yeah.
What happened?
No, I didn't write it up.
I didn't write it up. No, I never wrote it up. I think
you
you're the only one.
We should publish it.
You should publish it. I'm not.
I knew that was coming.
I'm not doing that again.
So
you should write it up. Skeptical Inquirer. I'll get it published.
Okay. The haunted object was allegedly the rocking horse. So you were the only one. So other than that, there was no real report of anything that anybody felt with any of the objects at all.
I mean, I didn't like the clown thing, but that was just me not liking the clown thing.
And that was included just because of you.
So I guess if anybody wants to do it, I'll tell you what we did. So I'm happy that I did this. I try to make it easy so other people can do it. So basically, I asked for an object that was supposed to be haunted that could have a easily measurable claim. And by that, I mean, like, I didn't want anything that made someone feel funny or made someone uneasy or had weird energy being brought into the house.
He did air quotes. He did air quotes.
Doesn't matter.
Still. So I think Kenny had the rocking horse was something about noises. So there was noises accompanied with it. And I was like, well, that's good. So if people start, the idea was we picked 4 people. We had 4 objects. 3 of the objects didn't have any allegations of hauntings attached to them. So in the instructions and the waiver and everything that went out, we told you once a month you're going to get an object. You may or may not get a haunted object, but you just write down any changes that you feel, and then you send it back. But what we did was we just rotated the object so that everybody at some point got the same rocking horse. So in our minds, what we were looking for, would the rocking horse consistently over time give reliable feedback of the same allegation of knocking and sound noises? If it did, it certainly doesn't conclude that it is an attachment, but it certainly gives us that's interesting. And we probably want to do it again and again. But outside of you getting the heebie-jeebies from it,
Yeah.
no one else did. But I like it. I want to do it again.
Yeah, it was
I
cool.
really
I
do.
really liked being a part of it. Like it was a cool thing to be a part of. And then I wish I could have stayed for the whole show, but then to have the results and everything, it was pretty cool.
It's still on the page. You can
I
go,
know. I gotta go back and watch
over
it.
and watch it.
I know. I'll go back and watch it.
I would recommend though to anybody that's going to do that, good waiver, good rules. Let people know that they can opt out at any time they want, and get something that you can mail easily. Okay. I think one of the problems that I didn't anticipate that I did find was that some of the packages were big, so they didn't necessarily make it into mailboxes or post office boxes, and they had to be picked up. So something easier that would fit in a smaller box that would go into a mailbox would be good.
Yeah.
And the shipping wasn't bad. It wasn't expensive. I offered and reimbursed several that since I'm running it, I'll pay for the shipping back and reimburse for everything. But yeah, probably the biggest thing I would do is get something smaller. That seemed to be the biggest hiccup and everything was the packaging was just too big. But feel free.
I think it was cool. I loved being a part of it, and I would definitely be part of any experiment you guys do for sure.
Okay, send Taryn more clowns.
No clowns.
We've got 4 It dolls.
No, definitely not the It doll, not the clown from not the anything that looks like the clown from Poltergeist. F that clown.
Oh, I wonder what Kenny's got.
Hold on.
I'm gonna turn his camera off.
We
what
have video. We
And
have
he's going to
video.
get bickered.
We have video of
Ooh,
Ugh.
Taryn running from the It clown.
Ugh.
we do. That was shortly before or after Kenny signed his first autograph.
It was about the same time.
Oh my gosh, you guys. I love you guys. I can't believe it's been an hour and a half already.
Wow. That went fast.
Yeah, fun.
This is funner than our own show.
But I do often, I do wonder about like going
Not
back
wrong.
to the
I'm not wrong.
the whole with psychics helping police. Robert Reedy was one of them who claimed he did that, which he never did. You know what I mean? And it's interesting to me that the police actually do take these claims. I guess they have to if they get a
Yeah.
they
If
have
you
to
get a tip,
look into
they
it.
have to. There's an obligation to follow up on any leads that they get.
Yeah.
But it's annoying to me because I think I've dealt with several. I've investigated several, especially up here in the New York area, where people have claimed to be psychic, claimed to have helped with missing person cases. And I've contacted the police departments. I've talked to the detectives that worked on the case and flat out say, no, they did not help. They didn't do anything. But these same people are not only promoting that they did, but they also use it to promote, hey, I'm doing a gallery reading in this area. Come buy a ticket. And I solved this case, or I helped bring this little girl or little boy home. And it's disgusting. It's exploiting children. In the cases that I've investigated, they're literally exploiting a children's horrible experience for their own personal gain. And it's bullshit straight up. So I don't like it. I want to add just because I know Dan had talked about the what is it? Highly superior autobiographical memory individuals. I did find a paper, which I don't know how to put a link in the chat. But it's called False Memories and Highly Superior Autobiographical Memory Individuals. And they went through and tested several people like that. And they did find that participants were as comparably susceptible. Shut up, Tim.
I'm going to add that one to the list.
To memory distortions as controlled, as control people were, the control group were. This result was true on both relatively neutral word lists and more emotionally involved tasks. Individuals the HSAM individuals showed normal levels of susceptibility. Oh my God, susceptibility to misremembering non-existent news footage when misleading suggestion or imagination exercises were also given. So, not perfect. Just make sure. I mean, it's pretty good memory. Apparently, they can remember dates and times and stuff really good. Like they can tell you the day of the week any date was. But
No, but you know what? I had a cousin that did that, but he was I want to say maybe some form of autism or something like that, or where I would say what I would say like what day was August 15th 1721 Tuesday.
that's awesome.
You know what I mean? Like off the top of his head, like he could just say whatever day of the week it was, or and was right. But I always thought that was like a form of like autistic, but they can be just overly smart. Like I don't know what word I'm
You
looking
can have
for.
different skills. I mean, we look
Yeah.
at like. I mean, I see people that sculpt these magical statues, these awesome statues with such great detail, and I can't do that. I see paintings. I love to paint, but I'm nowhere near what these amazing artists can do. Painting or even drawing. When you see like TikTok videos where they draw with a pencil,
Oh
it's
yeah.
a lifelike. It looks like a photograph. Like that to me is just an extreme skill. It's not
Yeah.
normal, but it's an extreme
Yeah,
skill.
yeah,
You know?
for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add that in because I did look it up. I wasn't familiar with it beforehand, and I looked it up. And I know Dave likes papers, so
Send it along.
He
I'll send
does.
it.
And before Kim, they did answer. Kim said you guys didn't answer her question about equipment, but you did. Tim said
Mine
you
was-
played
Yeah,
12.
Dave did, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a. I mean, my answer is going to sound sarcastic, and I'm not trying to be, but it depends on what device you're talking about. Like the question was a piece of equipment. What piece of equipment we think is accurate
Totally,
or
yeah,
true.
yeah,
Yeah, but it depends on what you're talking about. Like, what's the situation? I'm not going to use a hammer to paint a picture. Like a hammer is a good tool, but I'm not going to use it as a paintbrush. So it really depends on the situation and what it calls for. Not every situation calls for every tool in our tool belt or toolbox, and it really depends on what you're talking about. And when it comes, I agree with these guys. Like the ghost hunting equipment that's marketed directly to ghost hunters, because it's made by ghost hunters for ghost hunters. Fuck you. No, it's not.
That's funny.
That's bullshit. No, it's not. And where's the data? Where's the data that backs it up? And I think that's our biggest problem with a lot of these things. Like, where's the testing data? How do I know it works? What are you actually measuring?
Well, isn't that Dave? Isn't that what you were saying? The data logger.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, savant. Yes,
Yeah.
that was the word I was looking for. That I
Fancy.
was like,
Like,
yeah, yeah. So before I let you guys go, tell everybody where they can find you every Wednesday, the first Wednesday of every month. Oh, hi, baby. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Every time you see me turn, there's an animal. I have too many animals.
Where three, it should be 4, but 3 tortured souls.
Tim runs the website we have, Facebook page, and then of course the first Wednesday of every month we have the show starts at 4. But the fourth one never shows up because somebody has their own show. So it remains 3. First Wednesday of every month we stream live on Facebook and YouTube. 7 p.m. Central.
That's awesome. 7 p.m. Central.
Yep. And
8
then
p.m.
Tim, our website, 3torturedsouls.com, correct?
Yep.
Kenny's at the Skeptical Inquirer.
I'm at skepticalinquirer.org. You can look up my work. Just punch in my name, Kenny Biddle, and you'll see the articles. And videos. I'm up to 103 entries, which is
Oh,
nice.
cool.
I like
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm going. The record is like it's over 300, which is Joe Nickel. So
Yep.
I have a chance to beat it.
Yeah, I read
It'll take me
Ben's,
a couple of years, but
I read Ben's post today. I'm like, holy crap, that guy wrote a lot of articles.
yeah.
Damn. Joe
So
was
yeah, you can find me there, and I also do my Skeptical Help Hour every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, on YouTube and Facebook. If anyone's interested, and yeah, that's about it.
That's awesome, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. I didn't need a topic. We didn't stop talking for how long? The whole time. I want to thank you guys for coming on again. I love you guys so much. I love having you on. I love doing shows with you. I love, talking to you guys in our chat and everything. And it's a good time. You guys are great. I love you guys. And anytime you want to come on the brew, you guys are more than welcome. You always have an open, slot
Invitation.
whenever.
I don't know. I might be available the first Wednesday of every month. I don't know.
That would be cool.
Well,
Do 2 shows. We'll just simulcast.
oh yeah, well, didn't we say it was Tortured Brew? That's what we could.
Oh yeah, we could do a
There you
tortured
go.
brew.
Yeah.
So just let me know. The first Wednesday of every month, I can join, and we can finally really be the 4 tortured souls.
We should just plan that one month. Just have
Yeah.
a Tortured Brew show where we get just fucked up.
Oh,
We say energy every 5 seconds.
Here we go
Fall
again.
off chairs and stuff.
where'd Tim go? He's
I think he passed
thud.
out under his
He's on
chair.
the floor.
Heard a thud. His dogs and cat are eating something.
But yeah, thank you again, guys.
Well, thanks for inviting
Thank you
us.
for having us on.
Yeah,
This
no.
is always fun on here. Always.
Thank you. And I'll be sure to have you guys on again, and hopefully maybe we can plan a Tortured Brew show, and that would be cool. I would love that. And until next time, I will talk to you guys soon.
So you got to mess up the ending. That's your last
Yeah.
test.
Yeah.
What?
To be a true tortured soul, you got to screw up the ending.
I did.
Yeah.
I am going to. Just you guys haven't been patient enough because I don't
Screw it
know
up.
how.
Screw it up.
I'm going to, because I don't know how
No
to.
pressure.
I
No
don't know
pressure.
how to get out and get in. So it's just, there's
We're
always
all
like
gonna
this
wait.
lag.
Here we go.
I love you guys.
Oh, look it up.
I'll talk to you guys later. All right, that was great. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Everybody that follows 3 Tortured Souls, thank you guys for coming on. I did happen to find that other tribute video, so I am going to play that before I get off. But again, thank you so much. I just want to say, Mom, this episode was for you. I love you so much. I miss you. And please be sure to join me next week. Paranormal Brew, Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, guys.
There's an emptiness. Oh, I hope you're there.
I just gotta tell you, I totally fucked it up.
Everybody else jumped. Usually we stay and talk. That's what I thought we were going to do.
No, but like I totally did. I messed it up. It didn't play right. Like I don't know what I did wrong, but it didn't play right.
Oh,
So like
it looked good on this end.
it did. Okay, because
Yes.
it was where we took her ashes to Gettysburg, and we like took pictures of where she was at, where we put the ashes. So we like put the pictures next to each other and everything.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So like I took pictures of where she was at, and we went to those spots, put her ashes, and then we took pictures where she was at. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
I don't know why it didn't play the way it was supposed to play. Damn it. But it's okay.
Still good.
Thank you. I
Oh,
appreciate
you're still
it.
alive.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, you are. That's you. You're the fourth tortured soul. Yeah. Oh, let me just tell you though. Let me tell
Wow.
you.
Wow. Okay.
That was an absolute beautiful in memory of your mom, and I think that's wonderful. It's good. It's good. I don't think you can mess it up. You might feel like it, but I mean that's for your mom. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your mom.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She'd be happy.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end this. So.
Yep. Hey.
Good night, guys.
Glad you weren't talking trash about anybody.